2016 is here, and it's time to move forward by looking back. That's right. At the end of every fiscal year, companies look at how much money was spent from the previous year in order to set budgets for the next year. And this is something we can apply to our personal lives as well. We're going to bring in personal finance coach Debbi King to walk us through setting a budget and sticking to it in the new year. Welcome to the program, Debbi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, we all want to have a budget, but how do we get started?
Well, I know it sounds simple, but the best thing is to just start. It's not rocket science. It's a little intimidating for people who've never done it before. But budgets are really simple. It's really simple math. It's what you bring in, what you take out. There's a lot of emotion involved in budget, and that's usually what scares people. But the biggest tip is just to start. Go ahead, take that step. Realize you're going to fall down several times over the first few months of doing it, till you get used to it. But it's really simple. Just start.
Now, some people have a salary. Others who maybe work in sales or are in the service industry, they don't bring in the same amount of money every week. How do you do a budget when you're bringing in different amounts every week or every month?
Okay, if you have that, you have to do a special kind of budget. And basically, you do the same thing. But when you take your expenses, you actually have to prioritize your expenses then. So obviously, mortgage would be first, utilities, food, things that you need to survive. You don't put a credit card payment first. I know credit card companies get upset when you don't pay them, and there is interest and stuff, but don't let that intimidate you. You just prioritize. And then as your money comes in, then you want to take and, pay out in the order that you put it in. And then any money you have left over, you set aside because obviously you may need that in another month somewhere. So if you have excess one month, that's not like you won the lottery. You need to put that aside in a savings account or somewhere where you do have access to it should you need it.
Is there a golden rule? Is there a certain percentage you should spend on, say, your mortgage or rent or groceries?
That really varies. Now, mortgage, I do try to keep around 25%, that includes your taxes, your insurance, everything that goes along with the mortgage. Some people forget that, and they can have $200 and $300 a month in taxes, and that can really throw you out of whack. But mortgages should stay around 25%. Everything else, I actually really challenge people to go as low as they can. For example, with food, we have a family of 3 here currently, and I spend only $60 a week on groceries. So I always challenge people to go as low as possible to get more out of your budget to save, or even for fun things, so that it just kind of varies. But just, try to keep it as low as you can, because obviously the less you spend, the more you can either save or spend somewhere else.
Now, you mentioned you're in a family of 3. What about maybe a single person? What's the difference in managing your budget?
Really, with single people, I think a lot of single people don't take advantage of something that they have to their advantage, which is the fact that it is just them. They're basically doing just them. So I really challenge them to cut back and to, a lot of single people, they do tend to eat out a lot. Eat out more than usual and stuff because it is hard to cook for one. But really there's really not a lot of difference. It's just the single people do have an advantage to actually save more within their budget. And a lot of my clients are surprised to find that, because I do get a lot of people out of college, with a lot of student loans, and I help them with their budgets, and they really actually a lot of times spend more than a family would, And so it's really a great time if you're single to do that, to save, more and challenge yourself a little bit more.
There are so many tools out there. I know there's a ton of apps. Do you have any that you recommend or that you find are easy to use?
I do. The Mint app, MINT app, it's great for anything really with money, with personal finance, with anything like that. And I've actually come across a great new budgeting app, which, since that's what we're talking about, is called Home Budget. And it's a really good app. It is $5.99 to buy the app, but you can put every single category in. It's not like standard categories. You can make your own. You can do whatever you want to do, and it actually will show you It'll kind of count down, what you have left. And it also does percentages. So you can see what percentage you're paying on things. Because I think, again, back to your other question about percentages, I think people would be shocked if they saw what percentage of their income they spend, say, eating out or lattes or all the little things that do add up. I think you would be shocked. So it's a great app and very easy to use.
Now, for parents, when should they start saving for college for their children?
Well, you can start, obviously the earlier the better. The one thing that I do caution parents about is to never put a college education before your own retirement. And that doesn't mean it's not important. What I mean is take care of yourself first, because there are options for your children when they get to college. There's a lot of scholarships out there. And I teach many webinars and classes on paying for college 100% with cash, using grants and scholarships and working and just, various ways, various tools that I teach for that. So obviously you want to save, and the earlier the better, because if you save by investing, then your money is going to make money, and that's the best way. So if you can do it without hurting your own self. But you really need to make sure you take care of your household first, meaning your bills are in line, you're out of debt, and you are saving for your future, because you don't want to look up, my daughter's a senior this year. So, I'm in my mid to late 40s here and, getting ready to pay for college. And I don't want to look up and not have any money in my own retirement because I focused on, paying for her college.
That's a good point. And even not even jumping that far ahead, there's a lot of parents out there who are probably still paying off their own college debt. So it's kind of hard. Do pay, so you're saying pay that off first before you even think about saving for your children.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it really is okay. I want to tell parents out there who are listening, it really is okay for your kids to pay for their own college and to cash flow. And maybe you can help a little, and throw a little bit here and there with your own budget. If you're out of debt, imagine what kind of cash flow you would have in your budget to actually help them pay for their college. But there's a lot of options. Obviously, that's a whole nother show, but there are a lot of options for paying for college. So don't put so much focus on it that you forget your own future. And like you said, student loans, if you're not getting out of debt on the student loans, you're probably still paying on yours because they're 30 years, and if you're deferring them or having trouble, they can go out to 40 and 50 years.
Okay, well, we just got a few seconds left. What is the top reason people don't stick to their budget?
They don't know how to say no to themselves. There's a lot of emotion involved. There's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of misinterpretation between needs and want. Cable is not a need. It is a want. Internet, in most cases, is not a need. It's a want. And it's okay to have those things. I'm not saying don't have them. What I'm saying is if you can differentiate, there's really only about 4 or 5 basic needs that we have to have to live. And then everything else really is a want. So just keep those in check. Maybe you have to sacrifice for a short amount of time to reach your bigger goals. But then later on, when you can open up those budget items a little bit, let loose of the purse strings a little bit as you go forward. So just be willing to take that sacrifice for a few years, and you might have to get it down to bare bones, but it'll loosen up as you get along and as you pay off debts.
So lots of self-control.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of discipline and self-control.
All right. Well, Debbi, you run a coaching firm. It's the ABCs of Personal Finance. You're also the author of 2 award-winning books. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I'm looking forward to putting your tips in use next year.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Happy New Year, everybody.
You too.